To begin with, we can't actually explore the realm where religion and technology meet and, furthermore, refine what our objective is until we arrive at a fair understanding of what we mean by religion, also what a religious worldview is, and to what we refer when talking about modern technology in this course. Basically, and without getting overly academic, we need working definitions of each of these concepts in order to work our way into the discussion. Here's what you can expect in the following session. We will come up with a basic definition of religion and also what entails a religious worldview, and this latter concept will particularly be important as we will utilize a basic model of religious worldview as a tool throughout this course, a tool that will enable us to evaluate or assess new technological developments and their applications as we move through each section of the course. You'll also be utilizing it as well as you begin to work on your course project and final presentation. And then lastly, we'll discuss what do we mean by technology, especially with respect to today's technology and what makes it so different from, as we could say, yesterday's. First then, what do we mean by religion? If we take a look at the etymology of the word, it takes us to the Latin world of the Roman Empire. Religion derives from the Latin religio, in the nominal, or religare in the verbal sense, meaning a reconnection or to bind or reconnect. Take a look at the root word lig, L-I-G. Can you think of a term we use in English that contains that root word? Now, if you're like many, you may have the word ligament in mind. Think biology for just a moment. What is the function of a ligament? It joins bone to bone so the body moves and functions properly. Although there is some ambiguity in the use of the term in classical sources, religio or religion in that basic verbal sense then meant to rejoin something or someone to something or someone else. Imagine the common person in the ancient Roman society for a moment, living out daily routine under the notion that all aspects of life through prayers, supplication, rituals, oath, etc., ought to be properly aligned with the will of the gods, and were at least close to the original idea. With respect to a working definition of religion today, what we can say in light of the etymology and the ideas proposed among today's world religions is that there are at least two key aspects to what religion entails, aspects that typically work in tandem. First, the sense of fear, awe, or reverence one senses in the presence of a deity or deities, in other words, an experience. And secondly, rituals and beliefs considered worthy of one's utmost profession and participation, in other words, devotion. Most of us today are familiar with the latter of these traits. Ask yourself this question: what do religious people do? Perhaps you're thinking of some of these things. They pray, attend religious services of some sort, partake in various rituals, observe and openly promote moral values, talk about what they believe, wear jewelry that display meaningful religious symbols, or even carry Bibles with them to school or work, among other things. As familiar as all of that might be, it's crucial to understand that religion also involves the former aspect as well, experience. In fact, many people, maybe even you if you consider yourself to be religious, reach a point in their lives when they ask, is there more to it than that? Or is there something truly behind all of those rituals, practices, and beliefs? If that includes you, you're not alone. At this point, it would be great to introduce you to the competing ideas of Immanuel Kant and Rudolf Otto, two German philosophers who thought deeply about this subject. For now, let me just point out Otto's notion in his work, The Idea of the Holy. In the early portion of his treatise, in which he addresses the non-rational aspect of the holy presence of God, he basically tells the reader to set aside the book and stop reading if he can't point to a moment in life where he had a deeply felt religious experience. His point? You have to have had the experience in order to appreciate or understand where he's coming from when addressing the idea that religious experience is necessary and a foundational aspect of what true religion entails. One other thing to consider is this. The latter aspect of religion typically is meant to engender or keep engendering the former. Thus, ideally, one participates in the acts of devotion in order to keep the experiential relationship alive, or, as we might say in light of our discussion here, to keep the relationship in proper alignment. Two final thoughts, the first a side note. There is one exception in this general definition of religion. namely Theravada Buddhism. Take a look at the PDF accompanying this video. Ask yourself where in the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha's first sermon, is there a mention of a central God being like the one in Genesis, for example, or even the mention of the human soul. Spoiler alert, you won't find them. That's not to downplay the notion that Siddhartha's awakening was not experiential, far from it. But that kind of experience is vastly different from the notion of, say, the role of the Holy Spirit in Christianity, or darshana, being seen by the deity, or even possession or spirit channeling within Hinduism. Lastly, this twofold definition can give us an answer as to why people get excited about their faith. They've had an experience they want to share with other people, something that has touched their lives. Their perspective they held in the world has been altered and they want to let everybody know about it. On the other hand, from a negative standpoint, this is why some people get nervous or upset if someone suggests to them that their faith may be wrong, or even among adherents to the same faith, that they're not performing or attending the prescribed rituals correctly. Such criticism tampers not only with their experience, but with things they hold ultimately most important in their lives. To sum up, let's go back to where we started with this and consider the words of the 1st century BC Roman statesman Cicero, who put it like this in his book On the Nature of the Gods. The best, the chastest, the most sacred and pious worship of the gods is to reverence them. Think experience here. And they who diligently perused and, as we may say, read or practiced over again all the duties relating to the worship of the gods, think devotion, were called religiosity, religious. To continue on with the discussion, select the next video entitled Session 2, Part 2.